This is The Scene
on BBC Radio London with Aurie Styla.
This is The Scene.
Loving this one. This is Kettle by Ella Frank, who is sitting right in front of me. We had a text in, I believe, for you as well, Ella. And the text says, there's a girl who has her head screwed on properly. If someone asks your advice, never feel you need to respond immediately. And then the rest of it, grammatically, I don't quite understand as we tried to break it down. That was from John Putney. Or John from Putney. I don't know. He didn't say from. It just says John Putney.
Oh.
So we're going to say John
John.
Putney. Thank you, John.
I mean, it was a compliment regardless. So.
There we go. We'll take it positively. This is The Scene. My name is BBC. My name is Aurie Styla on BBC Radio London. The Scene. Wow. My name is BBC. That is not there. We must probably one of Ella Frank's erotic books there. That could be, but yeah,
not mine.
Not yours, but the other one. So my name is BBC. Yeah. Anyhow, I got all my guests in there.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I just caught that.
I've got all my guests in the building.
Oh, wow.
I thought this was meant to be PG,
You're not easy,
guys.
you know.
I am sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I've got my guests in the building. I have got Ella
That's sick of me.
Frank, Chuckie, Kevin J, and I've also got Akua here as well. What's going on, Akua?
Howdy.
You all right?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice. I'm good. Akua is my entertainment correspondent. We will get to her in just a little bit with what she has to say. But we got to talk topics first. First things first. You guys have heard about the whole chicken boxes with the knife crime messages in them. Do we... positive or negative, just first things first?
I think it's pointless.
Pointless from
I think
Ella?
it's a waste of money that could be going to several other places.
Okay.
Like, I'm very, very, very sure that they've spent thousands.
It's going to be
if
a
not
lot of
millions,
money.
Like 60K.
printing cardboard boxes that are black that have stories about whatever happening around town.
Yeah.
When instead of putting that money into youth clubs or social services or people that would actually benefit from having more funding to then support young people and families, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
So
but I mean, yeah.
And I see your point wholeheartedly. We got one person that thinks it's a waste of money. What about you, Chuckie?
Do you know what? Can I be honest with you?
Yeah, go on.
I was away. Yeah. So I just came back like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And then I just heard a little bit about it. So I don't really know too much about it. But
okay.
From what I did hear, it just sounds like absolute foolishness. Seriously. It sounds like it's a joke.
Yeah, it's basically, as you said, you heard a little bit, it was basically chicken boxes going to Cottage, Dixie's, Morley's, Sam's, yeah. We're Sam's people.
And what? And then,
really.
yeah, exactly. And then what? So what is the thing of this? So what?
They'll put real life stories of young people in those boxes who chose positive activities over carrying a weapon, and they'll print them in the boxes.
Over carrying a weapon?
Yeah.
So basically, somebody who has a knife is going to go to the chicken shop and then see the box, and then they're going to read the story. They're going to read the story,
and then put the knife down,
and then and then what? They're going to give the knife to the boss man. Do you know what? I need to have a conversation with the person
who thought this was a good idea.
The thing that I find the most interesting is that like there was a conversation about this in a room with a bunch of people, and it was the sickest idea. Yeah. And so I'm curious to find out exactly
what other ideas were on the plate.
Yeah, but also the mindset of the people that are doing that and where they come from and whatever. Because why?
Yeah.
But you know what? Right? To play devil's advocate, I think it's a marketing genius to think of putting any type of messaging on the inside of a chicken box.
Yeah. Okay.
The message that they chose was completely wrong. But the man that said, you know what we need to do is utilize the inside of a chicken box with advertising.
Listen, if an artist did that,
he should be at Spotify or something. He should be at Spotify or something, because that is a marketing genius.
So
the person that did due diligence on what was being said.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, but this is the thing. I get that, yeah, but let's look at cigarette packs, for example.
Does it stop people from
smoking?
smoking?
We put guts and lungs and all of these types of things on there and that, but
really, people still go and buy
also,
that packet.
They've also increased the price of cigarettes substantially.
Okay,
I thought you just said the price of chicken.
No, so what they
really
should
going
do,
at us.
if they really want to do something,
decrease the price of chicken is what you're going to say.
It's a waste of time. The Home Office.
But do you know what? I
feel
like definitely the Home Office need to get that kind of like message back put back at them to say it's terrible, but we can't overlook the sports brand that decided to do boxes with balaclavas, a trap phone.
Then they need to get the same energy.
But they didn't. But they didn't. It was glorified, and it was like, yo, like, yeah, I've been invited to this exclusive party, and the invite or whatever it was a box with a balaclava, a trap phone, and
and set in a trap setting, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it was in a trap house,
terrible.
and it's like all of the paraphernalia that you would need to essentially be a drug dealer, and that was glorified because it was a sports brand. So
I saw some backlash to that.
Was there backlash?
Maybe
Okay.
I don't know how.
I saw some online backlash.
I did
definitely.
see backlash to that, but it didn't
we
reach
gave
the
it on the
masses.
podcast.
Oh, you did? All right, cool. All right, well then
I
let's
saw a
just
lot
keep the
of
energy
people
for the
talking about
government.
that. But I think it's because it's the actual government as well. Because at least that,
Yeah.
not at least, that was a marketing agency that did that
Right.
foolishness.
Okay.
and they
Okay. No,
capitalised,
all right.
But
Yeah.
the Home Office, it's the government. They're supposed to know better.
Yeah.
And they're avoiding the actual causes that everyone's talked about: schools, mental health, youth centres. There's so many things that they're avoiding. Like, this is a waste of money that they say we don't have.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like, because we talk about all of the things like that, like the youth centers and all of these type of things. I'm just curious to find out like what their reasoning is to not want to invest in it, and I'm open to hear it.
Well, for youth
They haven't even
centers,
spoken
because
about it.
because like, why has all of this just been bypassed to just go to the chicken box?
But the problem, I find that the problem is that a lot of the people making the decisions are like 10 times older than the people they're trying to target, and are also very white. Like, and let's be honest, they're not putting it in chicken shops because there's a bunch of white kids going to chicken shops. Like, they're putting it in chicken shops because there's a bunch of black kids that are going to chicken shops, like, and the boxes are black. Like, I think, unfortunately, until you put younger people in that boardroom where they're making decisions and they actually get young people involved in how they actually, like, maybe get those people that have changed and gone to the other side, or whatever you want to call it, involved in making some of these decisions and ideas, rather than these old men that have been there in the same position for however long, and they're going, oh yes, John, how are we gonna target the youth today? It doesn't, you haven't had conversations with these people, so how would you know? Like, I don't know, it's a bit.
I feel like they have had, nothing's changed over the years, and it's same as America and the gun situation. It's just the one solution that they haven't tried, or the few solutions that they haven't tried, are the ones that people have been saying over and over and over again. This is what you could potentially do. Cuts here, like, start funding these initiatives that will help. There are loads of organisations that you could easily Google and get a bunch of black organisations. When they want to talk on the news and have like counter opposing opinions, they manage to find all the groups. They manage to find black groups here, there and everywhere, and youth groups. But when it comes down to actually sitting down and making actual targets, then we don't know who to talk to, and we create these crazy
But you know what,
schemes.
right? I think I'll just put it out there. They do know what to do.
They do. They don't want to.
They don't want to invest in it.
They don't want to do it, because if they do it, then they don't have this propaganda
that they can push.
They can push that then does things like make you think certain areas are not safe to go to, so you move out, and then the house prices go down, then loads of middle class white people move in and the house prices go up.
Keeping the people down.
You understand? They know, of course they know. Like, let's not sit here and go, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Hence
why I said I'm curious to find out why they don't. Because it's, to me, it just seems fairly obvious. So I'm just curious to find out, like, why bypass the obvious
logic
to go to the chicken box. I don't know.
So one thing I would like to see, generally, if you are really about making sure that this is an initiative that you want people to follow. Remember the young man that went around who was collecting knives from people anonymously, so they wouldn't have to put their face forward to say, well, I was carrying a knife. If you were going to do something like that and you really cared about people putting down knives, why not maybe have at some of these points, these chicken places, drop boxes that people can anonymously drop their knives down and not have to be taken anywhere else. So basically kids or young people can feel safe, not feeling like, if they want to change their life, well, I was a part of this and now I just want to put the knife down, as opposed to them feeling, well, I'm going to keep it because if I do that, I'm going to get stitched up.
I hear you on that, but the thing is with this, is that, like, that is maybe a good thing to do, but ultimately that doesn't actually change anything, purely because you still need to give them an incentive to do something.
To want to put the knife down,
And then also feel safe afterwards.
Exactly, to feel safe, but to be able to want to go out and be able to go places and do certain things. Because the thing is, what they will tell you is, cool, I can go to my man and give him the knife, but he hasn't given his.
So
I'm
weapon down.
I'm naked. Do you get what I'm saying? So like, it has to be a bit deeper than that.
And you don't just pick up a knife. You don't just wake up one morning and go, do you know what? I'm a banker, but do you know what's missing? A nice
Yeah.
knife in my briefcase. You don't do that. Like, you're from an environment where you've been pre-exposed to whatever's happening in that environment, that you feel like you need to keep yourself safe, and that is why you do it. So there will be a process of time that you have been through, whatever you've seen, that makes you feel like you need to carry a knife. A chicken box, a manifesto with a pigeonhole in a chicken shop that you can put your knife. It's bigger than that. It's gonna take.
Exactly.
It's probably gonna take twice as long to convince someone to put a knife down as it did for them to pick it
Pick it
up.
up. Yeah.
There was an organisation called, I think, Word on the Curb, and they took to Stratford and they had empty chicken boxes, and they said, okay, to counter this foolishness, how about people come and write their ideas for solutions into how to tackle knife crime, and they're going to take all the boxes and bring them to the Home Office. I hope that was successful. I hope they can do something significant like that, and then just make it harder for them to avoid the obvious, because it's just really ridiculous.
So with Word on the Curb, you're right, they were doing that. They said that the people in power need to take notice of what young people's ideas are. And you're right, I do feel to a degree there's no one really listening to what people are saying. But I think no one really listens to younger people, even though younger people are the ones who are in that environment. It's almost easy to be a person in your 50s, 60s in power, look at young people and go, you lot are lost. We're trying to help you from our angle, but not go, well, let me listen to what you have to say, and so I can understand your experience.
I think as well, that like, I think people are not necessarily really understanding how stressful it is for some of these kids, Like, I'm having conversations with them, and like, just the whole, like, one, you in particular telling me that, like, that he has to get on a bus, to go for a certain area to go to school. And like, for him, it's terrifying knowing that every day, he could be stabbed or whatever. And it's hard for him to not walk around with a knife and want to, protect himself and that. And it's like, it's hard to hear that, because I remember what it was like going to school, and like, obviously there was my school wasn't perfect and my area wasn't perfect, but I never went to school with the thought every day of thinking, like it's stressful, like
I never had that in my mind.
So when I hear about these things like that chicken box and all of that, sometimes it makes me extra angry, because it's like, do you think this is a joke? Like, this is very, very, very serious. Like, and these kids are going through absolute madness at a crazy age. Like, how can you be 13 and be thinking about, worried about, dying?
Yeah.
Like, that's mad to me.
Or even better yet, people who are parents thinking about raising their kids. I mean, you both are parents. I mean, your child is 17?
She's 19.
19?
Yeah.
19
you don't look like you're going 19. We take cocoa butter and that, I hear that
cracking over,
So you got a 19-year-old.
I've got a 9-year-old, and even I've got a 70-year-old nephew who's our focus.
Yeah.
Because girls, I mean, they go through it, but it's a different thing. But she's got a boyfriend, so there's worries about when, sometimes she's talking on the phone to her boyfriend and she's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, hold on, I'll call you back. Them type of things there. Where he lives, things happen, pop off. He's in quite a hot area. So even that, and even coming from his to our area, I'm like, make sure you meet him downstairs. Make sure that the guys in our area know who he is and that he's coming. All that nonsense. They're young. It's a lot.
I mean, and as well, Kevin, you have a son. So for you, especially with understanding that it's, even though women are just as susceptible to being a part of knife crime as men are, a lot of it is amongst what we see male problems of fights and so on. And I always, every time I speak to someone who's got a son, in their head, it's literally, it's not knowing that just the security or safety of when your child is old enough to kind of go, all right, I'm going to come out of the house and go chill with my friends. And I mean, Kevin, you're somebody who has been around environments where you've seen the best happen and the worst happen, and you also have a son. I mean, what's your thoughts on the next 10 years in terms of your son being in an environment of this nature, or is it you be going somewhere else? Or I mean,
no, I will never leave because of something like that, because that's what they want. That's what they want. If you look at what's happened to New York and Harlem, like Harlem still has the reputation of being Harlem, right? All of us couldn't afford to live in one bedroom apartment in Harlem,
course,
because Harlem ain't Harlem like it was in the 80s. But the rhetoric that was put out about Harlem in the 80s led to Harlem now being one of the most affluent places in New York, right? So I'll never leave London because of that. I think the most that I can do is speak to my son on a level and teach him the ways of the world from how I have seen it. But ultimately, it fills me with fear, the fact that, majority of these kids that are being stabbed or are stabbing, they're not they're not gangland criminals like that.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people aren't doing whatever they're doing, but they're just caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, and Chuckie saying, you know, a 13-year-old's having to think about death, and it's like, do you know what? That's out. The problem is they can't even process what thinking about death looks like because they've probably not experienced it around them to even understand.
To even see someone losing someone.
And they're fearful of an experience they ain't even lived.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
No, you say that, but loads of their brethren are dying.
dead. That's what I'm saying.
And that's the thing. It's like that is another thing that is just mad to me because, again, I didn't grow up at a time. There was people that died in that, but not that close. I'm hearing like 16-year-olds saying R.I.P. this person, that person, this person.
But
I'm like, whoa.
When I say experiencing death, like as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, the meaning of life has so much more value to us.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is a 13-year-old trying to articulate the fact that two of their friends have died. It's heart-wrenching, but if two 40-year-old people's friends died, it would just feel a bit different because you have a different appreciation for life. That's the point I'm trying to make, and it's scary. It's really scary, and there's no answer. But we can definitely say that the chicken box is not the answer.
It's.
But I do
What
want
is
to
the
know why
answer?
it's not on KFC chicken boxes.
That's a very good
Say
point.
again?
It's not on KFC.
Oh yeah.
Why have KFC not jumped in and got involved as well? That's a good
Exactly,
point.
that's
People go
true.
KFC too.
Because all the other shops were like, yeah, we'll take 10 grand to print on the inside of ours. KFC were like,
Nah. Yeah, we
I want billboard money.
Yeah, and probably in KFC's eyes, it's like, well, why would you assume that our clientele? Whereas when some of the independent shops like Sam's and Dixie's and so on will go, we know what. And there's also an incentive, literally, to take the money. Well, if the government going to fund us this, well, yeah, we'll do this. Whereas KFC are like, we've got money, and now we're not about to tarnish our image that young, violent people are coming to this shop. So, is it really about putting on the message, or is it just about the money that people can get from doing this as well?
It's terrible.
Listen, I wouldn't say I hope we find a solution. It's never going to be easy to find one. I would never say we will never find one. I hope we do find a solution. It's one of those things that I feel just the conversation needs to continue to be had, not just amongst us, but younger people as well. It's probably time we need to get some younger people on here to say what their views are as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's got to be a venture of ours. I can vow that. Akua, we need to go to you as well. So Akua's our entertainment correspondent. He gives us updates of what's going on in the entertainment world. What have you got for us this week?
A bunch of new TV shows, or returning TV shows, I should say. Okay. So for all you Peaky Blinders fans, that's coming back. BBC One on the 25th of August. It's moving from BBC Two. For the past, I think, 4 series it's been on BBC Two, is that now they want a bigger audience. Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys are into Peaky Blinders.
Nah, but someone in here is, but they're not in here.
Yeah, my friend, she's outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, proper Peaky Blinders friend.
Coming back. I watched the first season and I fell off, but it is really good.
I've been told that it's meant to be really good.
It's really good
as well, by watching it.
So basically it's about gang warfare in Birmingham in 1919 style. And I guess in Series 5, Stephen Knight's crime family saga finds the world thrown into turmoil by the financial crash of 1929. Opportunity and misfortune are everywhere when Tommy Shelby, played by Cillian Murphy,
Badman actor.
He's an MP and is approached by a charismatic politician with a bold vision for Britain. He realises that his response will affect not just his family's future, but that of the entire nation. So for all of you who are excited, that's coming back soon.
What does it sound like now? What does all that sound like right now,
well,
boy?
Very similar.
Go on, sorry, carry on.
But yeah, exactly. Art imitating life and all that stuff. And then for all you other people that love Power, I have a love-hate relationship with Power.
Same.
It gets on my damn nerves,
vexed.
but I feel like I have to watch it just to...
I'm vexed.
I have to watch it to complete it.
Yeah.
Like, I just
It's
have
the
to
last
watch it
season
because
now.
I want to
Yeah,
finish
I'm
it
so
rather
mad.
than-
I'm done.
Right?
I'm done.
You're not going to watch season...
Nah, you know what it is. It's
the
just
final
the waiting
one,
the whole year and all of that.
It's the last one though, so we're good.
It's the last one, we're done.
Do you
Well, then we're not
do you think
exactly-
they'll
I'll cross that
resurrect
bridge when it
50
comes.
Cent again? Like,
Okay, so this is what's going to happen, right? So Power season 6, we've got another Tommy, Badman Tommy, who shot Angela. James goes St. Patrick's side chick. Can I say that? Is it his side piece? Woman love of his life.
You could say the who should have been the main squeeze. Carry on.
Oh wow, is it that? I'm Team
Yeah,
Tasha.
I'm that guy. I'm that guy.
Obviously, I'm Team Tasha.
I'm that guy.
Obviously,
Should have been the main squeeze. Carry on.
No.
I'm sorry, she's the one who got him out of jail.
Yeah,
Should've
but
been the
she's
main
also,
squeeze.
you know,
She didn't put him in there.
No, it doesn't matter.
She
Whatever.
got him out of jail.
No, Team
she
Tasha,
dealt with my man who put him in jail.
Angela's dry.
And
She's
all Tasha
boring.
did was get with 50
She
son.
loves a
Carry
bad
on.
man. Tries to pretend she don't like bad men. Oh, good.
Sorry, episode 1. Tasha in the
Okay.
limousine.
Anyway,
Carry on, please.
so Tommy and Ghost are at war. Former drug partners. They're rivals. Long-term love, not blood brothers. You're getting revenge on each other, basically. However, who cares about that? what's happening potentially is a spin-off called Power Book 2 Ghost.
No.
Power Book. What's this about?
Which is going to be...
An Apple.
Listen, it's going to be led by Mary J. Blige.
What?
Both of us at the same
Wow.
time.
Hold on, wait. Was that a mockery? So Mary J. Blige is Oscar nominated.
Yeah,
She's Grammy winning,
Ain't she-
award winning.
was she in it? No, she was in
No,
something
she's
else
going to
recently.
be-
No, Luke Cage, I think she was in something like that. But carry
No,
on.
it was Umbrella Academy.
Umbrella Academy, that was
She was
it,
actually
yeah.
really good in that, you know.
Yeah, she was.
Mary's on
actually
her
really good at
acting
that.
thing.
She's a great actress, but power.
But I mean, but she said she knows
It's Power Book.
Power Book 2. Let's get it right. Ghost. It's got titles and subtitles. Ms. J. Blige just says she's known many a ghost and many a Tasha, and she's looking forward to taking the lead in this spin-off series.
Okay.
She's had a bad girl life. Come on,
She's
Mary.
about to
You
get
know,
them knee-high boots out and give it to them.
It's what I'm
Innit?
saying.
I was about to say that
Skank it out
starts,
in the
that
intro,
starts
innit?
on stage didn't come from nowhere.
Yeah, it's true, you know.
That's what I'm saying. She's lived
That's
her
life.
life with Sister Mary. I want to see what she's going to do, but I can imagine I'm going to really hate watch Power Book 2 as well.
I'm done.
I don't think I
um,
will.
Did I say when
will.
it's
I'll leave
coming
that
out?
one alone.
26th to Netflix for Power Season 6, the final, so they say.
Yeah.
And then also coming is Carnival Row, which sounds amazing. It's coming to Amazon Prime on
Nice.
the 30th of August. It's for those of you who like fantasy and period drama. It's a
I
fantasy
thought it was a
noir.
Notting Hill Carnival.
Yes,
thing.
I was thinking.
I thought that's where he was going with it. But yeah, go on anyway. Sorry.
Wow.
Et tu, Chuckie. Fantasy noir set in a neo-Victorian city where a human detective and a fairy rekindle a dangerous affair in a Victorian fantasy world. This is against the backdrop of a city about to erupt when a string of murders reveals an unimaginable monster. And this is actually taking on this whole immigrant kind of narrative. And it stars Cara Delevingne, the former model, Orlando Bloom, I should say,
Orlando Bloom.
and David Jesse. I'm going to wrap up then, because you don't want me to say
No,
anymore.
I do want to say
You went
more.
like that, trying to warn me and
That was
stuff.
just the time, that's all. That's all. I was just trying to give you a heads up.
Finally, in the cinemas on Wednesday, the 21st of August, is Angel Has Fallen.
Yeah.
So this stars Jared Butler, Morgan Freeman, and Jada Pinkett's joining. And basically, it's a trilogy of, it's a third in the installment of
London's
Olympus.
Fallen and
yeah,
Olympus, yeah.
all that stuff. So this one's going to be about Jared Butler's going to reprise his role as some sort of detective secret
Can you
service
put some
agent.
swagger on it? I beg.
I mean, like, you know what I mean?
Can I say it?
Go on. You
Gerard
get
Butler's
excited.
going to return, but this time, even though he saved the president twice, everyone's going to turn on him thinking that he
Kill
is
the
now
president.
going to kill the president. That's what Angel's Fallen meaning. Angel is when the president dies, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah,
Olympus is when London's fallen because we're just London, and Olympus is White House is down. So yeah,
Okay, guys, you like
Gerard Butler.
Shoot 'em
I
up.
like Gerard.
he's
I'm
I
a
mean,
Gerard fan.
Yeah, this is a
He's
good
great.
franchise for him, but
He's great.
all right. So,
yeah, it's a ridiculous franchise because
Yeah.
how much things can happen to the president in like 5 years?
and get away with.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, how much can happen with Fast and Furious, but they're still doing that.
Listen,
so,
Hobbs and Shaw, did you see
yeah,
it?
I mean,
I haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw yet, but I've heard
That's
it's
like-
ridiculous, but still
But
good.
fantastic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to wrap it up. We're on the last minute of the show. I need to get everyone's socials real quick. We'll go from you first, Chuckie.
Everything Chuckie online. Everything.
Just nice and quick. Everything Chuckie online.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Also, Ella, big shout out to you. Someone just said, Paul from Catford said, I just bought and downloaded Ella Frank's EP.
nice.
She searched for
we
Kettle
like
to be
you,
safe,
Paul,
and
thanks.
boom. Graham from Harrisfield as well said, Ella Frank has a beautiful jazz voice, and so on.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
And Duncan said you're amazing as well. So big shout out to you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, keep going. What's your socials?
At Ella_Frank on pretty much everything.
Nice. And what about you, Kevin J?
KevinJ.co.uk.
Yep. And Akua.
You can find me on the British Blacklist. That's everything on British Blacklist, and here sorting out Aurie's life every time.
My name's Aurie Styla, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to head over to the news, and straight after me is Mr. Duncan Barks, who is ready to jump in and take over. I've been Aurie on the scene. Back next week, Monday, 8 till 10. Take it easy, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you to my guests for coming down later.